The movie started with Robert and his family celebrating their daughter Sally's first birthday with friends in the garden when Sarah, who is pregnant, calls out to Robert to go on the boat with her, but he was reluctant about it when she accidentally leaned on a weak dock which had broken and she fell into the water. George immediately jumped into the water and managed to save Sarah, but they unfortunately lost their baby. We see 5 years later Robert was on his laptop talking to a publisher who happens to be his oldest friend on his book and how he wants it to be. We see Sarah and Charlie running in 100% organic cookies when their daughter came running to her for her present and she gave her a bicycle, but Robert felt it was not time but had to overlook because it was his birthday. After Sarah lost her baby, we discovered that she would not be able to have children anymore, so they decided to opt in for an adoption, and Robert, on the other hand, feels guilty for not fixing the broken dock that led to the accident. Sarah, however, thinks a baby in the house once again will bring the old Robert back. They spoke about it as a family and had sex that night. However, we see a woman, Bridget, who is pregnant, come out of a car, and the adoption agent, Helen. Robert came out to see them just as they wanted to exchange pleasantries. The family picture in Bridget's hand fell and broke, but overlooked it and told her to tell them about herself. She said she is doing what she doing to save money to leave the shelter she stays. She managed to convince Robert and his family, and they decided that they want her to stay with them till she have her baby. Sarah is not sure if Robert is happy about the decision, but he assured her that he was happy and likes her because she reads his book, and they hugged each other. However, we see that Sarah has finally moved in and they tried their best to make her comfortable. We then see Bridget text someone saying she is here, and tears Sarah out of a magazine that has she and Robert faces. The next morning, Bridget said she would like to go to the dock to read, but Robert said it was off limit as he recalls the last incident that happened there with Sarah. Robert's friend is trying to talk him into going for a book tour, but he is not interested as he blacked out at the last tour. Bridget comes in to ask for sun cream. Robert hands it over to her and they were in the spot, but later refrained as Bridget left but went to lay herself in the sun, and Robert saw her and was lost. Bridget caught him and he was stunned. He later texted his wife Sarah that he would be making lunch for Bridget at home as she is tired. We see Bridget receiving calls on how this things takes time, which we will get to discover later on as Charlie bumped into her at the coffee shop. Sarah asked Bridget what she thinks of their little town, and she said she likes it here and would not mind living here as everyone is so friendly. And she was scared at first, but she has finally realized that they are nice and her baby would be in the perfect family, and Sarah said she has made them happy and she would be happy someday too, and Bridget replied she hoped it would be in a town like hers and with a family like hers as well. However, we see Bridget trying to teach Sally how to ride her bike and left her to ride into the road, but Sally's bike was held down by Dwayne, who happens to be the father of the baby Bridget is carrying. Bridget tells him to go as they would meet at the cabin as planned, and told Sally not to let her dad know about what happened as it would be their little secret. Sarah tells Charlie that Robert has been a little cold and he suggested that he goes to see a therapist, but he believes it is for sick people and the whole thing has made him even more off. Later on we see that Robert and Bridget talking about the incident that happened years ago with Sarah and the baby, and how he feels it was Sarah's fault for acting so childish and fell, and sometimes he feels he may never love her as he used to, but he has never told anyone that before, and Bridget says maybe he is safe with her. Charlie went to get coffee and saw Dwayne and Bridget on the other side of the road arguing but did not quite know what it was about. Later that day at home, Sarah and Robert were seen arguing about an unboxed chocolate in the pantry because of Sally's health. Sally comes into the room and saw that Bridget was not pregnant. Bridget caught her spying at her and told Sally that she is pregnant but has a small belly and she should not let her parents find out as they would not believe she is actually pregnant. She then offered to take Sally to the park to make up for it, and then Robert was seen going into Bridget's room where he finds a book he autographed for her in the Make June and remembered something happening between them. He immediately ran to Sarah in search of their daughter but could not find them, so he called the sheriff to search for her. We then see Bridget and Dwayne on the other side talking about going to the big city and Sally fast asleep while Robert and Sarah were worried when Robert said he had let Sarah down and he thinks he knows Bridget from his last book tour as he was drunk and accepted every tour and how he hated her for falling and he had sex with Bridget but was drunk and Sarah blames him for the kidnap of Sally. The next day we see Bridget trying to tell Sally that her parents asked her to watch over her because they had an emergency but Sally said her tummy hurts due to her diabetic condition. We then see Charlie giving his statement about the car and what he saw. Just as Charlie was posting Sally pictures on the street he sees Dwayne and decided to follow him and placed a call through to Sarah but lost them due to poor network. He got there and saw Sally lying on the bed but Dwayne came and punched him on the face and he passed out and they took him into the bush and killed him. We later discovered that the woman from the adoption agency who brought Bridget was found dead in her apartment. However, we see that Dwayne and Bridget arguing about their plans and how Bridget need a boat. She went to an old man and borrowed his boat and went back to the house where she sees Sarah and tells her she was never pregnant and not to worry about Sally, that she was safe. Even Robert was with her and they are taking Sally with them. Sarah thought she was crazy but Bridget brought out a gun and pointed it at Sarah. She went further to say she did not like Sarah and her name wasn't Bridget but Johnny. She also told her that the night Robert and her had sex she got pregnant but lost the baby at 3 months and she turned on the TV just to see he was happy with her and Sally, but she did not like that very much and she hates Sarah for taking him away from her and they both went into a heated fight but Bridget managed to knock Sarah out. She went in and saw Robert. She told him they would be happy together and that she took care of her. Robert tried calling out to Sarah but there was no response. Robert tries to call the police but Bridget brought out the gun and shot him in the arm. He tries to collect the gun from her but shot himself again and fell to the ground but Bridget ran away and went back to tell Sally her dad was dead and they have to leave. Only then did Dwayne discover it was about Robert all the time and not the money and she then shot Dwayne as well. Robert woke up and went to the garage for Sarah and he promised to go get back Sally as the only way out was the bridge. So he took the boat and went over there. The police came and arrested Dwayne and Robert finally made it to the bridge. Bridget was trying to run over Robert when Sally swerved the steering and the car stopped. He brought out Sally and thought Bridget was only for him to hear a gunshot and Bridget said Robert has used her before but not this time, but Robert whispered something into Sally's ear. As Sally approached Bridget she ran towards the water and jumped and so did Robert. As she tried to shoot at them Sarah came and shot her and she fell into the water. We then see Sally riding her bike and Sarah making dough when Robert said Sally cannot be a baby forever and they would be riding her bike to town and they had to trust her. He then said how did he get to Lucky and they all danced happily.